Project Zomboid. The game that starts with "this is how you died" and doesn't get much more cheerful from there. If you've ever wondered what if The Sims had a zombie apocalypse and how absolutely terrible you'd be at surviving, then you're in the right place. Welcome to a beginner's guide to Project Zomboid. Right, I'll help you go from freshly bitten noob to, well, probably still bitten, but at least you'll look like you know what you're doing. In this video, we'll be covering everything from the best mods to give you a fighting chance, to where you should spawn so you don't immediately get eaten by the undead neighbour next door. Oh, and of course, how to survive the first week, because let's be honest, surviving the tutorial was hard enough. So grab your baseball bat, stock up on canned beans, and let's dive into the pixelated chaos that is Project Zomboid. One of the best features to Project Zomboid is the fantastic modding community that it has. I will quickly leave up a flash of all of the mods that I'll recommend for a beginner on screen now. If you are interested in any, do stop the video and do check them out. Now, this is probably a very simple thing for people to work out. However, when I started the game, I couldn't quite work out how to add mods, even though there is literally a setting right here. What you want to do is click on there, and as you go through, you should find all of your mods listed. Apologies, I have a lot that are here. And just press enter as you go along. Once you've made your mod selections, make sure to give it a quick save down at the bottom here, and then make sure that you click accept in the bottom right. Step 2 to this is giving you the perfect start to your save. For this, you're going to want to go into custom sandbox, and I'd personally recommend using Rosewood for your start. That will be the start that we use for this video. Zombie count, you should just keep the same at normal, and keep loot rarity and everything set to rare. Otherwise, you will find far too many items if you have it higher than that. Now, this is a big debate within the community, whether you should have multi-hit on or not. I'd recommend if you are new to the game and you find the combat somewhat difficult, I would recommend activating multi-hit, as it will make the fighting experience that little bit more fun. I'd also recommend unlocking all clothing. If you are completely new to the game, I'd also allow the mini-map and all known at start. This means you'll know the entire map of Project Zomboid without anything being hidden away. Alternatively, you'd have to spawn in and find maps in order to unlock areas. I'd also recommend while starting out to set the respawn to 0 under the advanced zombie options. And for now, we'll keep the population multiplier to the normal amount. If you find that it gets too crowded full of zombies, then do drop this as well. The next step is the traits. Now, a lot of people probably find this quite daunting being new to the game. However, I will give you my recommendations. You may find that your experience is completely different, but this is just what I would recommend. I'd personally recommend choosing the burglar occupation. This just means that you should be able to hotwire cars should you need them. It just gives you more variety when it comes to getting vehicles at the beginning. We'll start with the negative traits. Now, there's some of these that are really not so bad whatsoever. I'd recommend choosing either very underweight or obese, depending on what settings you go for. If your loot is set to normal, then very underweight is perfect, as all you need to do is eat as much food as possible in order to gain weight and not have any issues there. If you're going for a lack of food, then choosing obese is perfect, as it means you can starve your character for slightly longer. For this run, we'll go for very underweight. Another negative trait, which is an absolute must, is high thirst. The way to counter high thirst is to simply carry around water bottles with you, and your character will auto drink them and stop them from becoming dehydrated. Smoker is another game-breaking mod, where simply as long as you smoke, you can help reduce your character's anxiety. And once you get more familiar, you can start to play around some of these other traits, or even start to explore mods that add extra traits on top of them. Based on the basic mods that you get with the vanilla game, I'd recommend using Cat's Eyes just to help your vision at night, otherwise you will find yourselves in some very dark situations. I'd also recommend using Strong if you're a completely new player, just because it means tackling zombies won't be as daunting than going with a weaker player. Now, thanks to some of the mods that we've recommended, you do get a slightly easier layout in terms of customizing your character. However, I already have a pre-saved one which is perfect for this run, and of course that is Mr. Spiffo. As you can see, we've been spawned into a random little house in Rosewood, which is actually the perfect start, which takes us on to our very next step. The life and living programs. Now, these are going to be essential to your first week of survival. What you want to do is switch over to life and living, and then from 6 AM in the morning, midday, and 6 PM in the evening, there will be different shows which will help you increase your stats. As you can see, as we've just spawned in, we are catching the cooking show, and this skill is very rapidly increasing. And as you can see, we've already managed to catch the cooking show, which has got us to cooking level 1. When spawning into your first base, I'd recommend having a little look around, see if you can find any weapons or any reading material just to help improve your stats. Now, as you'll remember, we spawned in as a very skinny boy, so it's important that we start to eat as much food as we can. Unfortunately for us, there is no water bottle in this starting home, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for one of those. Make sure to take any sort of medical supplies that you can find en route, as if you're a new player, you will be picking up a fair few injuries. As you can see, we do have a fair bit of reading material here, which we'll take with us, and make sure to take any sort of pens and pencils with you, as it just means you'll be able to mark everything off on the map. As you can see, we've spawned into this corner of Rosewood. Now, early on, it's probably going to be integral that we clear out our local area, as this main high street here is going to be incredibly busy, but our main aim is to get down here to the fire station. Oh god! As you can see, we've been unfortunate enough to spawn in with a roommate. Thankfully though, this roommate does bring gifts. He brings a watch, which we'll put on our wrist, and some antidepressants, which are going to become our best friends. We have also found a backpack in here. For this, I'd recommend taking one that isn't going to overly encumber you too much, but has plenty of room inside. We're going to go for this one here. We've also found a crowbar. This will be integral for breaking into survivor homes, as well as being a handy little weapon for smashing in the skulls of our dear undead friends. If you're unable to find any water bottles, I find the best way to refresh yourself is to take a little sip from the toilet. Now, we do only have 50 minutes till the next carpentry show, so I'm actually going to stay in this starting home for now. And we're going to continue to eat more of these delightful little items. If you chose obese, I don't really know how to help you at this point. Now, I did actually completely miss, there is a carbonated water bottle in here. What I'll do is take this with us, just in case we do get thirsty, and we should be able to take care of ourselves. Now, if you did follow my mod list, you will get some of these options here, where you get to add traits to your character. With these sort of mods, I wouldn't really recommend adding Demon behind the wheel if you're not used to driving vehicles in the game, as it will give you the Speed Demon trait, which is just an absolute nightmare. I would, however, recommend reading any sort of engineer, medical, or carpentry books that you can find. Now that it's midday, the Woodcraft Show is starting. The Woodcraft Show is an integral part of our survival, as it will help work on our carpentry skill, which we will need in the future with fortifying a base, or maybe even building a base of our own. And carpentry level 1, fantastic. Our next Life and Living show won't be until 6 PM in the evening, so that does give us a little bit of time to wander out and explore. Now, personally, I'd recommend getting yourself straight over to the fire station now that we have a weapon. However, if you're not so comfortable doing the combat straight away, I'd recommend looking for a car, which will be the next step. For all of you new players, let me introduce you to the wonderful little David the Gnome. David is an essential part of the zombie survival, so you have to take him with you at all costs. Now, these houses around here are pretty good to loot, but I myself do prefer to base up at the fire station almost immediately. Again, take your time with this, there's no need to rush. If you head straight down from the house where we started, you'll see there's this gate here, which takes us to the back of the fire station. The only issue with the fire station is you will find a fair few zombies there in the first place. As you can see, there's quite a few little friends down there to take care of. If, like me, you chose the strong trait, you should be able to jump the fence quite easily. Now, when taking on a group of zombies, keep in mind, do not sprint whatsoever. Sprinting attracts more zombies, and also, as you can see here, our walking pace is actually quicker than theirs, so there's no need to at all. If you're as unfortunate as me and your weapon breaks this early on, one little tip I'd recommend is going down to the fences. Now, as we haven't spawned in with any shoes, we have actually scratched our feet. Let me just pinch a pair of shoes off them and I'll take care of that later. What you can do with the fence is you actually get a clear shot to stamp on the zombie's head, although be careful as it does give them a chance to lunge at you. We are already getting pretty exhausted. This tutorial is going horrifically wrong. Change of plan, don't listen to me. We're going to push on inside and we are going to get some weapons from inside and take on the rest of the zombies. Be careful not to get too exhausted, as you will find yourself being swarmed by zombies and far too slow to take them on. Once inside the fire station, loot some of the goodies needed to take on the zombies. Careful not to attract too many more of them, however, like I have done here. So once you're inside the fire station, you will find there is actually a hell of a lot of loot to go through. Here you can find some great supplies such as a shovel, axe and a sledgehammer, all key to surviving the zombie apocalypse. You will find a few stragglers inside, so be careful taking those out quickly, and if you get lucky you might get a little friend under the stairs like me. As a strong character, I'd heavily recommend using the axe as it's a great little weapon for caving in the zombie skulls. You'll also find a medical supply room. This will help supply with all of the drugs that you'll need to survive the zombie apocalypse. If you are fortunate enough like me to have a little roommate underneath your stairs at the fire station, it's important to give them a little nickname. I'll be calling you Betty. Say hello to Betty, guys. Another reason to pick the fire station is not just because of the great loot it has downstairs, is because also the living space that it has upstairs. Here you can put your life and living shows on, grab one of these cheeky treadmills from downstairs, and plop it on upstairs. We'll need to use the mod that I listed at the start of the video. In the vanilla game, this is not an option to use. And there we go, sprinting level 1. Now you've passed the time checking out your new lovely home, it's time to tune back in to the life and living shown, where my favourite is about to start, Dean's Exposure Survival. Today he's going to teach us how to fish. If you do choose to spawn into a world with a lack of loot, you'll find this is a great way of getting a source of food. I, however, am going to ignore this new trait that we've learned and push on to do the next step of our survival. When picking out the perfect vehicle in the zombie apocalypse, find that you need something strong and sturdy with plenty of space in it. Something that's going to be reliable and not burden you whatsoever. Once you've picked out the perfect vehicle, park it up at your base and enjoy your first night's rest in the zombie apocalypse. It's important to set an alarm for the morning just so you don't miss the integral cook show. As you can see, we're very cautious not to wake up too early. Now, I'd normally recommend staying in to catch the next cook show. However, I'll move on quickly to the next step just to show you what I would do in order to survive the zombie apocalypse. Oh my god, please do not roll over. Once your car has decided to lose one of its wheels spontaneously, maybe switch out to another car that isn't quite as stylish. Of course, thanks to your burglar trait, you should be able to hotwire it quite comfortably. Next door to the fire station, you will find the police station. This is another great location for getting supplies for the zombie apocalypse, mostly weaponry, and if you choose to watch some of my other videos, thanks to some other mods, you'll see that we do find some other particular items. If you are fortunate enough to come across some police zombies, make sure to take their bulletproof vest and inspect them for a key. The keys are integral for breaking into the weapons room. Do keep in mind, if you put on the vest, you will lose the entire boiler suit if you're Michael Myers. Now, the police station is a popular little location, so you may find it may already have a few other survivors trying to get the loot. For this, I'd recommend immediately caving their heads in and not sharing any of the rewards. As you can see here, we're lucky enough to find some keys on the zombies. This will be perfect as it will get us inside of the weapon room at the end of the hall here. And there we are, straight in. Inside you'll find plenty of weaponry. I'd highly recommend for a new user to use the JS200 shotgun, as this is the easiest weapon to use. It kills a giant horde of zombies all in one go, and it's just a lot of fun. Again, whilst you're not used to doing combat in the game, I wouldn't recommend diving straight into using guns. This is more for when you get a little bit more comfortable and you have a giant horde of zombies that you need to take on in a quick amount of time. Sometimes in the locker rooms at the back of the police station you can find bags, however you aren't always going to be that lucky. In this scenario, we've only managed to find a satchel, which isn't great, but it'll do for now. Keep in mind, it's also worth trying to loot some of the police cars around the back, as these can have weapons in them as well sometimes. As you can see here, there is a pistol in the back, and a lighter, which I'll take for our cigarettes. Once you've looted the police station, the next logical place to push on to is actually the bookstore. The only major downfall to this is it's in the most populated part of Rosewood, so if you're not comfortable fighting, maybe leave this point until later on into the challenge when you've picked off more of the zombies. Once you've killed all of the local zombies like an absolute beast that you are, proceed inside of the bookstore. Inside of here, you will find essentials to surviving the zombie apocalypse. It's important to take all Volume 1s of these sort of skill books here, as they will give you boosts towards the skills should you start to learn them. For example, If you read Carpentry Vol.1 and then watch the Carpentry show, you'll actually go up in level far faster than just watching the show on its own. In an ideal world, you will find a generator magazine inside of one of these stores. However, sometimes you aren't quite as lucky and it will take some time to find them. As you can see from this run, we haven't quite been fortunate enough to actually find the generator magazine. It's important to find both a generator and a generator magazine, as at some point during the zombie apocalypse, the power will go out and you will need to start a generator of your own to keep the electricity on. Across the road from the Bookstore, you will see there is a giant supermarket. It's worth popping in here just to get any sort of supplies that you may need, as you will need to haul up inside of your home for quite some time. For all of you skinny kings, I'd highly recommend eating lots of ice cream in the game, as it is great for gaining weight. Once you've looted all the supplies you need from here, it's best to return back to your lovely little home and get nice and cozy for the rest of today. Once you return from looting, you may find a bunch of squatters at your home. In this situation, I like to use the axe and cave all of their skulls in. Hello Betty, how are we? Now that you're back at your base with all of your supplies, you can sit down and relax and focus on grinding out your stats. My routine for this is I like to start off by having a lovely little smoke of our cigarette, taking a quick jog on our treadmill, and take some time to read our skill books whilst we enjoy the wonders of the Life and Living channel. And with this, you should have all of the supplies you need to survive your first week in the zombie apocalypse. Now, if you guys would like to see a part 2 where I tackle using generators and farming, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know if there's any skills that you think I've missed, as I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, and I can add that for a part 2, should you guys want it. I want to thank every single one of you for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I appreciate you all, and goodbye, everyone.